So I am going to call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. Ruth, could you please do a roll call?
Yes, Supervisor Galloway,
Present.
Supervisor Pruitt, Mr. Smith,
Here.
Supervisor Goolsby,
Here.
Mr. Higgins,
Present.
Supervisor Barlow,
Here.
Supervisor Woodward,
Here.
Supervisor Reed,
Here.
Supervisor Rutherford,
Here.
Supervisor. And then we'll need a motion to allow. Oh, and Payne and Duranzio up here. Commissioner Duranzio,
Here.
Counselor Payne.
Here.
And Mr. Pruitt is here. Sorry, we'll need a motion for allowing Jesse to. Yes.
All right, so I'll need a motion.
I so moved.
Second. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I think you need to state your reason, where you are, and your reason, please.
Yes. My name is Jesse Rutherford. I am at my house at 963 Peavine Lane, Shipment, Virginia 22971. My mother-in-law had passed away several days ago, so it's pertinent to me to stay home in this time with my wife best I can. So thank y'all for allowing me to participate virtually.
Condolences. All right, matters from the public. Do we have anybody from the public on? No public on? All right, so I think we're gonna skip right past number 2. We don't have any public and go right to presentations. It looks like David, you are up for the Brewer Cigarette Export.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have a short PowerPoint presentation be up on the screen, but this is the 6-month update that we provide to you about the Blue Cigarette Tax Board, which the TJPDC administers. You can go to the next slide, please. Just a little background to refresh your memory on creation of the board, which, believe it or not, it's been almost 4 years since the board was established. We had 7 original members, and then very shortly after the organization added the town of Madison. But more significantly, in the past about 15 months, we have added 3 additional localities outside of the TJPDC region, that being Rockingham County, that came aboard July 1st a year ago, followed by little town of Mount Crawford over in Rockingham County on January 1, and then effective yesterday, Rappahannock County actually had been admitted to be a member of the board that started levying its tax yesterday. So with the establishment of the board in late 2021, all of the original jurisdictions began levying cigarette taxes beginning the following January. That's when TJPDC really kicked into high gear and started to work with what is now an estimated 25 to 30 distributors that are collecting the taxes from the retail establishments to which they deliver cigarettes. They are submitting monthly reports to TJPDC on the number of packs sold, and then making remittances of the revenue collected to us. We are tracking all of their all of their reports, all of the cigarette packs that are sold, the revenue, the deductions from that revenue. And then we're processing the revenue and turning that back around and distributing allocations to all of the member jurisdictions, minus a 2% administrative fee that the state allows for the distributors to withhold, and then costs that are associated with our administration of the program. And we do that on a monthly basis. Next slide, please. Just want to get into some of the numbers of sales and revenue since we've been able to compile those for the close of fiscal year 25. You can see there gross revenue about $3.3 million in total across the footprint. Total packs sold was around 8.7 million over the course of the 12 months. The administrative expenses that we had was largely personnel and mileage costs, just over 112,000. And then we just threw in the July pack sold figures. It's been a while, and I'm not sure if we reached above 800,000, but over 800,000 packs of cigarettes sold and reported to us during the month of July. Let me clarify, when I'm telling you packs sold, we're not tracking the packs that are sold by retailers to consumers. We're tracking what the distributors actually are delivering to the retail establishment. So that is the basis of our packs sold. So when I was here before you 6 months ago, perhaps, but at least I know a year ago, we were telling you about packs sold and usage being down. It's going up, and I think largely we can attribute it to the addition of those 3 additional members. When you think about Rockingham County, they came on board in advance of Buc-ee's opening up. There was a new Sheetz that was opening up in the town of Mount Crawford, and I think we've over the past 4 years have always said, you know, anecdotally, if you've got a Sheetz or a Wawa, and I guess now Buc-ee's, you're probably going to be
Greene County's getting 2 of them.
Yeah.
Soon go ahead too.
So anyway, about 400,000 more packs in fiscal year 25 than 24, after a pretty significant decline from the previous year. And then the other thing that I'm was glad to see and proud of, and we'll give Gretchen Thomas, our administrative assistant, does all of the work keeping track of the reports and crunching all the numbers from the packs sold and putting up with what the revenue allocation is supposed to be. She hands it off to Laura to do her part. But our administrative expenses were down about 25% in fiscal year 25 and 24 as well. So, more efficiency, maybe, fewer miles traveled as far as compliance. But I think that was significant. We're keeping that administrative cost down to, that's probably what, I read it right there, 3.5% of the total revenue. So we're getting a lot. Next slide, please. I think these next 4 slides really just kind of break down some of those figures by jurisdiction across fiscal year 25 as compared to 24. You can see the kind of light brown is the 25 figures, and with the exception of a couple of months where the sales were below the same month for the previous year, you can see that generally those numbers were on the rise. Next slide is going to show you by jurisdiction, the 11 jurisdictions, the number of packs sold in total for fiscal year 25. You look at the blue, the large blue piece on the right, and then the orange piece on the bottom. You can see that UVA no, just kidding. That is Albemarle on the top and Augusta County on the bottom. So, out of the 11 jurisdictions, 2 jurisdictions are responsible for about half of the sales throughout the footprint. And then breaking down, the other jurisdictions. If you can't see, again, that presentation is in the packet, so you should be able to see your numbers. Oh, she made a little bit bigger. Next slide, please. This is switching over to revenues, really the allocation of what the member jurisdictions would receive. You can see again the light brown fiscal year 25, and that they're all really above the fiscal year 24 figures. Again, adding 3 additional members to the board during 25, well, 2 during 25, I guess, would help to drive those numbers up. But you also had an increase, I think, for Augusta County in the start of 24. They had been at 15 cents per pack. They increased to 30 cents per pack. So again, the largest seller doubling their tax rate is also going to make a difference in driving up the revenue that's collected in the allocation back to the jurisdictions. And then the following slide, will then again just break it down by jurisdiction. Augusta's piece of the pie there is smaller because of having been 30 cents per pack in fiscal year 25. They have now moved to 40 cents, which is the max that can be charged by the counties. All of the county members and the 2 town members are at 40 cents per pack now. Charlottesville had previously been levying the cigarette tax, and they were at 55 cents, and the legislation that authorized the counties to start taxing cigarettes did cap cities that already were taxing at the current rate. Couple more slides. Just wanted to update you on some of the activities with the board since we met last. The board meets on a quarterly basis. There's two, actually one representative, I'm sorry, from each of the member jurisdictions. They met in April and July of this year. Back in the spring, they approved a budget for fiscal year 26. It was close to $3.4 million. Again, most of that is passed through, save for the administrative expenses to TJPDC. And the process that the board does is that they approve a budget for recommendation to the commission. So that number is incorporated into the budget that is brought before you for your approval. Again, Rappahannock was added most recently to join the board. We spent some time at the July meeting, kind of having a really extensive view of all of the policies that the board had adopted over the course of its existence. And the reason we did that is because with the addition of new members and with the changing of some representatives to the board, we had more than half of the individuals that are currently on the board were not part of the BRCTP when it was established 40 years ago. So that was a good review process. And then, as I had mentioned, all the county and town members now at the maximum of 40 cents per pack in Charlottesville at the 55 cents per pack. And then I believe the final slide just speaks of a little bit to the compliance efforts. We do have a part-time compliance agent who is out in the field, traversing across what's more than 3,900 square miles across these 11 jurisdictions. And really just, kind of on an ongoing basis, working to educate and inform the retailers about their obligations to stay in compliance by having properly stamped cigarettes that they should be receiving, from their distributor. We've got a stamp. It's an orange stamp. It's called a dual stamp, and it is evidence that the taxes, both the state taxes and the local taxes, have been paid on that pack of cigarettes. About 250 retailers across that footprint. So that's a lot of folks to try to see out in the field. We do have very good compliance out in the field, and if there is a problem, I can tell you that the compliance agent is very good about working with the retailer, working with the distributor if necessary to bring them into compliance so that we do not get into a situation where cigarettes have to be seized, and we have not had to do that yet since we started the program. We have had of late had to issue a few warnings for late reports. Our reports and remittances are due on the 10th of the month for the preceding month, or to be postmarked by the 10th. And it seems that we've had some late payments, more so, it's just a couple, but more so than in the past. We've had particularly those that are using the U.S. Postal Service to mail their checks. We've had some real hangups of being able to get those. So we do offer an ACH option. We have a number of distributors that also send by FedEx or UPS or overnight. So hopefully, for the most part, we're getting things taken care of timely. So I believe that was the last slide. Website there. If you would like to go and look, list all the jurisdictions, the tax rates, documents that are related to their quarterly meetings and some other resources there for your viewing. So I'm glad to answer any questions you may have.
Question will do.
I think when we, right before they added the new jurisdictions, was asking about the agent and has the capacity to handle the new place. So how's it going? Let's see.
Yeah, so that's a great question because we had extensive staff discussions before bringing, requests to the board. Obviously, the big one was Rockingham when they came on board. I believe the town of Mount Crawford only added 2 retailers, and Rappahannock County 5, 6, 7. So those 2, the most recent ones, were not a burden. We have said that should we get an additional request, which I did have an inquiry recently from a small county, that we're really going to have to look at that in terms of the capacity of the compliance agent to be able to cover not only more retailers, but just, distance from home base and whatever the size of the jurisdiction would be.
Right, because we got a car involved in it.
Yes, we do.
So the more miles, the faster replacing the rest. Second person. But they've got that all built into their budget.
That is all built into actually
You have a
the,
reserve as well?
we have a reserve, and then the, expenses related to the vehicle are actually, expensed on a monthly basis to the jurisdictions, through the formula we use to allocate.
Great, thank you. Anything else?
And part of the development of that reserve was, should there need to be a second coastlines officer and vehicle, then there would be money there ready. We wouldn't have to then assess for additional funding.
So thank you, Ruth, for pulling up the, this is great that you pull this up, Stephanie's definitely with a good mention. There in blue are the current jurisdictions, they're all Blue Ridge. This is a location tool. So Ruth has set this up for each of the jurisdictions through GIS. You can go in, you can enter in an address into the search bar up there, I guess on the left. And it will tell you whether or not that particular location is located within the BRCTV region. So that has been quite an exercise, I think, in some cases, because Rockingham County has got a number of small towns that are doing their own cigarette tax or not, and so they are not part of the BRCTV region. But this has, I think, been a helpful tool. We could just get the distributors to use it more. Because then, they can really tell, okay, is this in the city of Charlottesville, or is this actually in Albemarle County, even though it has a Charlottesville, Virginia address?
To your comment, Christine, that is the vehicle replacement built into the reserve too? At some point, they'll have to replace the vehicle.
Yes, you're gonna have to quote me if I'm wrong. I believe the reserve is just over 50,000,
So it's for replacement and a new one.
potentially.
So how are the late reports?
So we have a process, it's really a three-step process, so that the first late report or remittance is a written warning. It happens a second month in a row, then there is built into the local ordinances a penalty of 10% of the amount that's due. And then if there would be a third consecutive late report or remittance, then that would be a matter that would come before the board, but the recommendation would be that they distributor be put on probation.
But they're all consecutive.
They're all consecutive, yeah, so you're resetting if you get it on time.
Is that happening regularly?
No, we're not, we have not issued a penalty yet.
No, what I was speaking to is I missed 1 month, I was good this month. next time.
Typically, I think, we've got one particular distributor that is a challenge. It seems like we're having to work with on a monthly basis, reminders and encouragement and other things. But they, they'll go months where everything is on time, and then, there'll be a month that they miss. It's not, and there's been a couple of others just here and there. I mean, I'll give you an example of some of the challenges, just on one challenge on the distributor side. There's one distributor where, they're very good about getting the reports in the first 2 or 3 days, but they have to request a physical check from corporate office, which could take 3 days, could take 5 days, could take 7 days. So I think they were one most recently that we were late receiving their check because of that process that they went through, and which we've encouraged them to do, to use the ACH option.
Any other questions? Thank you, April.
Yeah, thank you all.
Sarah, you're up next, Bartley Road.
You guys could just pass these out. I overlooked a little something that you might want in the packet, just as an information piece.
Do I have control or do you? All right, well, it's good to see everyone again. So just wanted to give you a little overview on one of the items that kind of crosses over between the 2 programs I work with here at the PDC, and that is our park and ride lots. So I manage our rideshare program, which assists commuters. And then our rural transportation program is actually what funds the inventory that I'm going to talk about. So Most, as you can imagine, the park and ride lots are in rural areas since that's where commuters are meeting and then coming into. So it's a really fun intersection between the two things that I get to do. So we have 20 lots in the TJPDC region, but the rideshare region actually covers both TJPDC and the Central Shenandoah PDC. So in total, we have 33 different lots that commuters can meet at and come in either carpool, transit, or van pool. As like I said, you would expect, a lot of them are in more of the rural localities. We conduct our inventory quarterly. So I just did September, and then we'll continue throughout the year. When I go, this is the sheet that I handed you guys. This is kind of all of the different things that I'm looking at. So I'm looking at not only how many cars are there, how many handicap spots are there or occupied, the general condition of the lot, if the signage is still there, all that kind of different stuff, and then noting on this and keeping it as our record. If I notice anything seems to be out of place with maintenance or anything like that, I then reach out to the owner of the lot. Now, in addition to that, funded through also the Rural Transportation Program is a yearly VDOT conditions assessment. So I usually try to pair this up with the inventory and do it all at once. Sometimes that works out on timing, sometimes it doesn't. But this looks more extensively at what type of lighting is in the lot. Are there drainage problems? What type of vehicles are parked there? For example, some of the lots you may go to may have commercial vehicles parked there, or in other jurisdictions, there may be buses or things. So they really want a much deeper dive annually, and then also updated photos each year. So it's kind of a fun project to get to do a little bit more of a deeper dive. Rideshare markets the lots. So we put out information to our commuters who are going through the commuter assistance programs as to places that they can meet as suggestions. And then we also have a toolkit that one can use for establishing new lots. Right. So we'll go through these relatively quickly here, but I just wanted to provide you guys with some information, a little kind of profile for each of the jurisdictions of what lots you have. And then also I thought this information from the American community, or the on the map tool from the census from 2022 was really interesting to see both the inflow of people coming in for jobs as well as the the outflow, and then how many people stay within that region, both for living and working. Kind of just supports, as you'll see when we go through these, why there are more lots in certain areas than others. Charlottesville just has one lot, which is there at Azalea Park. Go to the next slide. Albemarle County actually has the most lots, and they're kind of spread a lot of different places. Teal Lane, which is right off of 64, well, the interchange of exit 118, 64, and 29, is probably the most used lot in Albemarle County. Since it's right there by 64, you'll notice that's a trend that we will see on a lot of these. The closer they are to a bigger road, the more utilized they are. But Albemarle County does also have 2 lots that are served by transit. We have the Scottsville lot, which is right by the farmers market there before you cross the bridge, and that's served by Jaunt. They have a commuter route that comes up from Buckingham that picks up and drops off at UVA from there. And then the Charlottesville Walmart, of course, is served by CAT. Real quickly, back to Azalea Park. We don't have to switch slides. They are very close to a CAT bus stop, but technically not directly served, but we do indicate to folks that that is an option there. Additionally, the Avon Street extended lot has come online in the last few years and has really ticked up in the number of cars parked there. I forgot to indicate that one is also served by CAT. You can go to the next slide. Fluvanna County. Now, this is actually one of the counties that we have worked with in the last several years. I think it was, yes, 2013, to onboard a new lot, and that was the Lake Monticello there at Jefferson Center. And it's just outside or right next to the shopping center there. Pretty well utilized lot. And then the other one is located off of 250 there at a church. It's been there several years. I will say we have a few at churches Those seem to be a little less utilized in the last several years. Unclear exactly what the reasons are, but I think a lot of them has to do mostly with location. Next slide. We have 2 lots in Greene County. We have the one at the school system, which is kind of over where the school buses are parked. That is a lot that is owned and maintained by Greene County and the school board. And then the Ruckersville Walmart one, this is a classic example of having kind of 2 different private establishments, is through the property owner there at the Walmart. And we actually had assistance getting that one on board through one of the former board of supervisors there at Greene County. Next slide. Louisa County has 2, and these are pretty well utilized and 2 of the bigger lots that we have. Zion Crossroads is the largest one in the TJPDC region. I think it has about 64 spots in it. And then Gum Springs, just a little bit further, kind of on the tail end of the county there, which we think serves both people coming to Charlottesville and people going to Richmond, which is lovely, has about 25 spots. And up until about 2013, the Zion Crossroads lot was actually served by Jaunt. But when the commuter route from Louisa expired, that is no longer the case. All right, next slide. Nelson County has 4. This is a split between private and VDOT owned and maintained. The 2 Route 6 and the Roseland are both VDOT lots. They average about between 6 and 15 spots at most of those, with the Route 6 West being the largest and most heavily used. Oh, and the Jaunt bus used to stop at the Livingston Fire Department, but then they relocated that spot to the Nelson Center because it was a little tricky to get in and out of there with those buses. It's a very tight turn if you've never been up there. Next slide. So just wanted to give you some data on what the lot usage was like, both pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. As you can see from here, the largest lot, the Zion Crossroads one, is the most utilized. Again, if you looked here and on a map, the ones next to large roads, particularly the interstates, or 29 are the heaviest used. We did just have a lot close for us, and that's at the Forest Lakes Health Systems. It was a privately owned lot. They've now built a housing development over there, and there just really isn't the extra space for the cars. The good news is it wasn't a heavily used lot, so that was all right. On this slide, you'll notice on the very end, and it's in your packet, I'm sorry, it's so small, there's just so many of them, the Pantops lot. We used to have a lot at the Pantops Shopping Center, but it closed in 2017 due to new ownership of that private land. We did have to relocate 2 van pools who utilized that particular spot, so that was a little bit tricky, but we were able to do that. One of the options we talked about was the Dardentow Park lot, because that is very close to Pantops, but unfortunately, both Dardentow and Azalea close at dusk. So those folks most of those van pools were going to Richmond. So in the winter, when they would go to work and both when they would come home, it was dark. So that didn't work out for them. One I know for sure has relocated to the Avon Street extended lot. Next slide. And then just a more recent snapshot for you. Lot usage post-pandemic from FY23 to FY25, so through last year. There really isn't huge drastic changes, I would say. We definitely saw a dip after the pandemic, and some of the lots are, maybe 10, like Zion Crossroad might be 10 cars less, which we think might have to do with the fact that more folks are able to telecommute for work as well. Next slide. And then just some quick other information. The Waynesboro Town Center lot, while obviously not in our jurisdiction, it certainly serves and benefits this area a lot. The Afton Express bus service stops there. And there are a lot of folks who ride the Afton Express that work at UVA because they can ride for free. So we definitely see a huge impact with cars parking there as decreasing cars into this particular area. That lot is about 94 spaces, and on average has about a 95% occupancy rate. So it is extremely well utilized. It very much supports what we kind of already knew, is that there are a lot of folks traveling over that mountain. Carpools can also meet there as well, but the Afton Express we know is a huge impact of that. Some other things to note, we do have a new park and ride lot coming at Crozet at exit 107 coming online in the next year and a half. They are looking to hopefully start construction next year. That was part of a smart scale project. So sometimes these lots can be part of a development of that, or can be the whole project or funding itself. We've seen some success with lot improvements or lot development kind of tagged on to other transportation projects. But as you've seen, there are several that are privately owned lots, so you don't have to build anything from scratch necessarily. We can find spaces throughout, and that's definitely something that we could help any of our member localities look at or do. And then, like I said before, we lost the one lot at the Pantop Shopping Center, which was lovely, but actually not the best centrally located near 64. So there has been talks in some other projects with VDOT about getting another lot closer to exit 124 for folks to use. And that's pretty much all for me, but I'm happy to answer any questions. Just kind of wanted to give you a snapshot of one of the tasks and the things that we do here.
The numbers you have, was that total commuters in, or was that the rider? That was not the ridership, that was just the commute in, you know?
Those are, yeah, from the census, the on the map tool that they had, or you mean on the actual lots?
Circle.
Yeah, so that's from the on the map tool. So they get that from the census data and the American Communities Survey. Yeah. Yes.
38,000.
Mhm.
Those aren't combined.
I don't think so. I ran them separately and selected out. So I think there's
36,000 living outside of Albemarle coming in for employment.
So if you thought of it as a Charlottesville, Albemarle, I combined the two numbers. So there's no overlap there.
Okay.
I'm asking, I don't know. Census, so tell me the source and I'll go to it.
It's the census. It's called on the map tool.
Yeah.
So it's actually like an interactive tool that anybody could use.
I'd be happy to go back and tool in that and look more specifically to get you a clearer answer.
1,000 includes the Charlottesville. One. If you're taking 31,000 and adding 36 to the whole region, that's a lot. 70-some thousand coming in, getting in everything.
That would be a lot. Yeah, I can clarify that for you. That's a good point.
I would expect this might be neither, right? It might be that it's Charlottesville residents who are commuting to Albemarle would be counted as people commuting.
Well,
Correct.
That's the output though.
No, it's including, no, it was out of the city of the county.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you could, but there is an outnumber, so there's part of that 12,000 leaving Charlottesville would be going into the county.
Yes.
Or if we're thinking of the numbers.
Yes.
I just love to, I tweak around with it on the website.
Yeah.
I found-
It was a fun tool to play with.
Say it again, it was Matt.
On the
On the map.
census on the.
The US Census Bureau's official webpage.
Yes, it's on the map.ces.census.gov.
I can send a link out if that would be helpful. Yeah, that's not a problem.
What they do is they use like address points for home and work. The only time there can be a rub is if the work location could have multiple locations and it might just be using the one like headquarters location. So sometimes there's a little rub there, but typically they're using address points to determine where they're commuting from and to.
Yeah, you can just imagine the complexities the university gives to that.
Well, I remember the SEDS telling us kind of what similar type stuff, but like you guys got people going east and west.
Mhm.
But
And folks in Nelson may be going further south. That's certainly an option, or even over to central Shenandoah into the valley area. Yeah. Everybody's going everywhere.
Would mind sending that out there.
I would be happy to do that.
On that topic, what I find the most interesting is the number employed and live in the section area.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming the section area, so in my county is Fluvanna County. So if I'm reading this right, I got 28,000 residents and only 2,000 live and work in Fluvanna County.
Again, that is 2022 data because that is the last that we have available at this time, but
Sure, it did change.
probably not drastically.
Wow, that's big.
And this tool does allow you to manipulate variables, so you can
Mhm.
look at it by the labor market, you can look at it by the distance being traveled. There's heat maps of where folks are going from that live within, and then you can do it either by where they work or where they live,
Mhm.
so you can see it in either direction.
If you wouldn't mind sending that.
I would be happy to. I thought it was just a really interesting snapshot that paired nicely with understanding why we have the lots where we have them. Glad to know that you guys are even more interested.
I think we'll go down the rabbit hole.
It can be a little bit of a rabbit hole.
Just a final update, the park and ride lot at Pantops was part of a bundle that was approved in round 6.
Thank you.
Of Smart Scale, and it was an MPO application.
Thank you. I had trouble locating that. Yeah.
At Martha Jefferson. Sorry.
No, I appreciate that, yeah.
All right, thank you. Do we want to do roll call on all our votes today? Or what would you prefer? No roll call?
We don't need it unless folks just have.
All right, so we're gonna go into the consent agenda. Sure. Move it. Okay, and I got a second. Hey, don't let me do my job. Give me a chance to. I was detailed. Oh, God. Okay, minutes, first and second, any changes, edits, omissions? All righty, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, financial report, you're not saying.
Let's share. I want to do
that. Any comments, thoughts, changes?
He would like clarification on who the second
I didn't hear a
was for the
second.
notes.
We didn't hear a second.
Neither did I, my hearing aids are dead.
that.
So I'm seeing this one again.
I so move.
You know what I'm saying? Good. We got first from Phil. I need a second.
Sorry.
Tommy, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
One abstention. Okay. The reports, annual reports.
I move Greene. Financial reports.
Can I get a second? Tommy's got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Look at this. New business. Mr. Blunt, you are up. Transportation Phone Support Letter.
All right, you have in your packet a letter that was put together, if you recall your discussion that you had at the commission meeting in September. You asked for a draft letter to be developed to send to the region's legislators requesting that they provide additional state investments in transportation infrastructure. So that letter is in the packets, trying to really kind of draw on some of the existing legislative position statements that are included in the regional legislative program. Also, I believe some of the discussion will become highlighted on some of the challenges that have been faced with the smart scale process and getting good positive results from that. So we'll talk about that as well, and then you may complete for additional state investment in infrastructure. Our plan would be to have you all approve the letter tonight. Mr. Chairman to sign it, would be sent to the 9 legislators that represent the localities in this region. We would also distribute that to other statewide organizations, VML, VACO, the other planning district commissions, transit and transportation organizations. And then another step in the process, again, from the discussion that you all had last September, was for us to develop a model or a template letter that could go from the commission to the localities in the region, with the request, informing them of the action that the commission had taken with the request, that they consider also writing a letter to their legislators, highlighting, local challenges in being able to fund infrastructure, or highlighting, specific projects that are important to parts of your community. So that there's kind of a multi-pronged effort in trying to communicate with the legislators about the need that was out there.
Mr. Chair. I think the letter covers what we need to send to this one. So I move that we sign it and bring it to it. Second. We have a second. Now, who did that? All in favor, say aye.
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 If I could make a couple quick comments on it. I would request that the commissioners of this body, when you meet with your legislators, like I appreciate having the template, but if each jurisdiction wants to do it themselves, but I could almost have a little more power. Just, this gives you something to bring up in your legislative meeting with your local legislators. The second thing I'll add, we Stanton, Augusta, Waynesboro, NPO, and the Charlottesville Albemarle NPO had a joint meeting a few days ago. That was this week. And the executive directors of Christine's equal at the Stanton, Augusta, Waynesboro, what's their PDC?
Central Shenandoah Planning District.
She suggested that they have interest in their PDC or could likely have interest to send a like letter. So I believe the plan was to share this template with them, but it's gaining a little bit of momentum. So if there were ways to get other PDCs, it could be an interesting angle in. So I'm just hoping that it'll continue to snowball. But no, thank you all for your support.
I would just like to take a moment to recognize Supervisor Galway's leadership on this issue, something that I don't think I was tracking on the fairness. I don't think we brought it first to our board at the Board of Supervisors level, really elevated the priority with this, and I know it brought it to this meeting, now it's stretching outside of our own region, so. Thank you, Ed.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you hear, you go to Baco or you go to anything where you bring it up, everybody, it's like, yeah, this is a no-brainer. It's just like trying to get everybody to use a big loud voice. Commissioner, was it counselor or commission supervisor? Bragg, was it? She was in Waynesboro? I can't remember what jurisdiction.
I don't
she was
remember.
from, but, like, she had similar comments on something separate. I mean, it's just a precedent thing for everyone. Thank you.
All right. We are, regional transit partnership.
Hey everyone, I do not have a formal presentation, but I will come up for the sake of the audio so that folks online can hear, and I'm not talking behind you. So this evening, I'm just speaking to the couple items that were included in your packet, specifically about the Regional Transit Partnership, an advisory board that was established in 2017 following a recommendation that came out of the Regional Transit Coordination Study. The RTP was established as an interim body intended to map out and proceed the creation of a regional transit authority. Since its formation, we've gotten multiple studies and multiple recommendations that this region has followed. Out of those, all due to the work and the leadership that came out of the RTP since they were created in 2017. So in 2024, in December, the city and the county officially voted to activate that regional transit authority by appointing 2 directors to their board. And so they have been meeting since February. And since they're established, they're having meetings. We as staff have recommended that this December 2025 be the last meeting of the RTP, and they officially sunset so that transition can occur to CARTA, for them being the primary regional transit forum for that discussion for the area. And so the items included in your packet are only informational for this evening, but the RTP has its legitimacy from an MOU. The MOU unfortunately doesn't speak to how to dissolve the partnership. So what we're doing is following the exact same process that we did to set it up. So we're going back to the boards, everyone who signed the MOU, to provide the letter that was included in your packet to request them take action to dissolve the RTP. And then at the same time, also taking them a new MOU for CARTA, specifically identifying the PDC as the lead agency for administration, just as we did for the RTP, and then also the responsibilities for Charlottesville and Albemarle as well. So happy to answer any questions. You all have any?
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks.
All right, Isabella, we're gonna talk about support for septic funding grant. I don't know why you're not in Europe.
Me neither. Yeah, exactly. Good evening, commissioners. I'm here tonight to request your support for the TJPDC Corporation Septic Assistance Program grant application to the Oak Hill Fund. The Oak Hill Fund is a private organization whose mission is to promote the well-being of people on the planet through effective and inspiring grant making. A letter of inquiry to their Healthy Planet Chesapeake Bay and Water Quality Grant Program is due by the end of this month. As a regional planning commission, the TJPDC maintains a formal partnership with the nonprofit TJPDC Corporation through a memorandum of agreement. This partnership enables the corporation to implement programs that address regional challenges, with the corporation utilizing TJPDC staff and resources to carry out its work. So this grant is critical to the continuation of the septic assistance program that the TJPDC successfully launched this year, with funding from DEQ's Infrastructure Investment and Job Act funding. That funding source has since dissolved, but the need for this funding in the community does remain. The need for this program is established by data from the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality. Water quality analysis indicates that 2/3 of our region's impaired waterways are related to the presence of the bacterial pollutant E. coli. Failing septic systems represent a significant contributing factor to this impairment, and they also contribute nitrogen pollution. Nitrogen is one of the 3 main pollutants Virginia is mandated to reduce in the Chesapeake Bay and local waterways under the Clean Water Act and the Chesapeake Bay Agreement. Furthermore, statistics from the Virginia Department of Health show that over half of Virginia's 1.1 million on-site sewage systems are approaching the end of their operational lifespan. So this aging infrastructure is estimated to contribute 7.8 million pounds of nitrogen annually to the Chesapeake Bay area and our tributaries. Additionally, the failure of these systems creates public health risks and a significant financial burden on low-income homeowners specifically, who often lack the financial resources for the costly septic system repair and replacements due to lack of maintenance. So the Septic Assistance Program provides financial aid to low-income homeowners at 80% of the area median income or below for maintenance, repairs, and full replacement projects. It protects both public health and our environment, and we work to educate the community on the benefits of proper system maintenance to improve water quality and reduce the need for the much more costly repairs and replacements over time. So by leveraging partnerships with the Department of Health, our local conservation districts, and housing foundations we work with through our housing programs, the TJPDC has been able to successfully carry out this year's current program. So this request will be informed by the documented need gathered by our housing foundation partners, who work directly with qualifying homeowners and also provide an established network of qualified contractors familiar with the septic work. So we're not starting from scratch. We're scaling a solution that's utilizing proven best management practices known to effectively reduce nutrient pollution. So if awarded the funding, the TJPDC will continue to support staff resources and technical assistance to support program implementation through our existing memorandum of agreement with the corporation. And the program's focus on assisting underserved communities while addressing environmental challenges aligns with regional planning objectives for sustainable development and public health protection. Additionally, this aligns with the TJPDC's priority program areas as outlined in our strategic plan through 2028, including environmental planning, supporting the watershed improvement program, housing to address our local infrastructure needs that affect housing habitability and property maintenance, and enhances our regional and local planning to contribute to comprehensive planning needs for our rural and urban suburban areas. So finally, you can find the drafted letter of support in your packet, and we hope that you all support the corporation's application for continued funding of this program, as we believe it represents a practical approach to addressing both environmental and community needs in our region. Please let me know if you have any questions.
Question.
So you said continued funding, so all, the corporation is already
So
doing this and implementing.
we have existing funding for the TJPDC staff, but the Oak Hill Fund supports nonprofits. So that's, yeah, the existing funding is to the TJPDC, not the corporation.
Through my seat on the chair of the Thomas Jefferson Plan, Thomas Jefferson, people, Land Trust, changed the name. Oak Hill Fund has done wonderful. can't really get into too much of it because they try to keep it low key. But that is one heck of a organization, do some great work. And I'm happy to see that they are active in this, because if you've ever witnessed a failed septic field, it is not a pleasant sight, so. All right, any questions? All right, this is an action item, so I need a first and a second.
So. Second.
Manning on one, Phil on the second. All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Where is he?
No, I'm free. He's in Spain for a school reunion with all of his siblings.
All right, so what's talking next? Lost track. All right. So we are gonna talk about the building committee. Christine is gonna take on leading that. Before we do that, I just want to thank everybody on the building committee. It seems like every few years we go through this, and we're back again. Like, seems like every 4 or 5 years we take a look at this. So I'm gonna let Christine report in, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay. So as we were approaching the end of a current 5-year lease for the 401 and 407 space here at Water Street Center, our lease was to terminate September 30th of 2025, which just passed. Back in winter of 24, the commission directed staff to renegotiate a 5-year lease. At that time, we talked about the potential of purchase versus renewing a lease. We were directed to renew the lease. The commission at that time also supported staff's request to work with the landlord to develop a scope of work for tenant improvements, to do some things like flooring, paint, fresh paint throughout. And so we have been working with our landlord. Our landlord did seek an estimate from contractors to do the scope of work that we recommended. We did meet with the building committee prior to this, and they approved the scope of work as presented, and we're now coming to you to review and see if you have any questions. And then the ask of the full commission would be that the building committee recommended the full commission approve the expenses that within the scope of work, and that it be amortized 5 years across the lease.
Anybody from the committee want to jump in on further conversation?
I mean, there's plenty of rabbit holes for weeds to, hold our attention here, I promise.
So I think one of the things we talked about was the allowances that are baked into that. And one of the conversations we had is that we would put like a 20% cost overrun for allowances. So those of us are in the construction or housing related business, sometimes allowances can sneak up on you. So what we wanted to do was give the executive director an opportunity to make the decisions that she wants to make, and not have to come back to this body for a little bit more money. So when we do make the motion, we're gonna need to add a little bit of language to that, and then giving the executive director the ability to make decisions on the spot. What do you think to that? So, other than that, is there any questions on?
Just a little bit, and a point you brought up, you want me to?
I thought you guys were not allowed to talk. Just kidding. Go ahead, bring up your point, Gordon. Bring up your point, sir.
Well, I brought up the point that, I don't know how many bathrooms are in the building. But this one that's closest to this room, the urinal, is like climbing a mountain. And my little short legs aren't able to climb. So, not to get personal, but.
So you know these little schools, well, go ahead.
Well, we discussed earlier about maybe a ramp.
And that's a legitimate thing, so to joke about that, I've been kicking around this building for 15 years. The joke about that was, the executive director, when I first came on, was like 6'6" or 6 something.
Oh, there you go.
I think that he did this on purpose. So you would like maybe the scope of work to include adjusting the urinal.
It doesn't cost. I think
We won't make
costs-
that, we won't make that an official motion, but maybe we can look at it. We can make a note of that.
I just, when I said something to Christine, she had no clue. And I mean, I think that's a good thing.
That's right.
Not a sustainable dimension.
You know, but glad that it's brought to your attention.
We're sort of reflected in the minutes.
It is recorded.
Did you speak to the time frame so people knew when it was gonna happen?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's just you put together stuff.
Thank you for bringing it back.
Yeah.
Yes, the contractor and the owners have indicated that should we proceed, that they would be able to have a 6-week construction window. And we would work logistically with all of our boards, commissions, and committees to make sure that we either can schedule virtual meetings during that schedule or rent space if we would need to hold in-person meetings, because some of them you can't have, all of them, you can't have 2 consecutive. So if it were to extend beyond that 6 weeks, it may require some logistics, but hopefully by the end of the calendar year and or into January would be when they would complete the renovations.
I guess the other piece was with this, I'm gonna stay away from all plumbing issues here.
I was about to say, if you go to the other bathroom, I think they got the same
Well,
problem.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So, the other issue was that, the building owner may have an interest in selling the space for the building and somehow incorporating an option into the lease. And, we're gonna sort of at least have a conversation about how that might go with them.
We end up in this spot every 5 years because at 23.96 at year 5 per square foot, that's ridiculous cheap for commercial in this area. There's always a conflict on that, but we're gonna take a deeper dive into the ownership with the folks that. All right, so we're gonna keep the bathroom comments out of the motion, but we do need to put this 20% in, so we would like to.
I'll make a swing at it. All right.
Would you like to read it?
You have it written down?
No, it's right here, sir.
Oh,
Just gotta add 20%.
Oh, I got you. So I move the commission, to approve this committee approved scope of work and associated costs for building improvements. Authorize the executive director to negotiate a 5-year lease to include the cost of leasehold improvements. Additionally, that we authorize the executive director to manage a contingency fund not to exceed 20% of the total cost. To deal with, overruns, contingencies, and surprises.
Thank you, sir. May I have a second?
Second.
Who was the second?
Second.
Ned? Thank you, Ned. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We made notes of the bathroom stuff, right? Just, we don't have any issues in the ladies' bathrooms, just why we've got this topic out there.
No, there you go, Mr. Fine.
And we do. Just check. While this is on the table, we might as well we'll do that. I'm really trying to hold a very special. All righty, old business. Louisa.
Okay.
Sting.
As you all know, in the September, October meetings, we bring before you an FY27 projected budget that sets the per capita rates and the local contributions for our locally funded programs. In our previous meeting in September, we brought the draft projected budget to you. There has only been one revision made since last month, and that's an increase in the reserve transfer in the amount of $9,189 for the now approved building renovations. We had a placeholder in there based on back of the napkin square footage. This additional 9,000 includes the scope of work as provided. And then it also has an increase in the rent line item amount of an equal amount. So the FY27 projected budget is balanced. It includes revenues of $24,340,411 and expenses in the same amount with the now anticipated reserve transfer of $69,375. Staff recommends a motion to approve the FY27 projected budget as presented, and a draft resolution is included in the meeting materials. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions? All right, anybody make a motion on that?
I will move, not, what are we doing, approval of the fiscal year 27 reactive budget and local revenue request.
Second. Good. Ned on first. Mike on second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm trying to track the baseball game, guys. I'm bouncing around a little bit here, but I'm trying to pay attention. Anybody remember the name Fred? I'm gonna go off topic for a second. Fred Payne from Fluvanna County. He used to literally listen to the baseball games. Or they had a little television from the board. Anyway, I went off topic here. All right, Christine, monthly report.
Just a couple of very small updates. We have a written updates on all of our programs. The one thing I wanted to note that I did not put in here is, as we are all aware, we are currently under a federal government shutdown. You guys know that we are a heavily federally funded organization. I just wanted to make sure that you knew that we were watching that closely. We currently have accounts receivable from federal sources in about 240,000. That is actually lower than our normal federal receivable, but wanted to make sure you guys felt really comfortable. We have ample funds. We have 10.82 months of operating expenses on hand. And at this time, we don't have immediate concern for cash flow. We have ample funds to be able to front the costs and then seek that reimbursement. We do anticipate there will be some delays related to reimbursements of our invoices that we send in.
And also potentially will impact our American Vista, who is a federal employee.
Impact like maybe furlough as well.
The Vistas are required to work during government shutdown, but they will not receive their pay until the government reopens. They're paid every 2 weeks.
So she gets to work enough.
Well, she'll eventually be paid.
The other update that I have is, we have a path transportation assistant position that we just posted last week that has been vacant. We left it vacant intentionally for a quarter because our grant funding did not cover full time until October 1. So that is now posted and live. The intent is to hire the position by November. And then the other large update is the Fluvanna River Basin Commission. They held their meeting. It was excellent, September 24th. Focused on water supply planning, data centers, and speakers from VACO, RWSA, DEQ, Piedmont Environmental Council, and the Fluvanna Conservation Alliance. There were about 65 participants. That was an excellent event. And then also we had the joint Stanton, Augusta, Waynesboro MPO and Charlottesville Albemarle MPO meeting this past week. Had speakers focusing mostly on multimodal, some statewide rail planning, updates from both VDOT and DRPT. Again, another well-attended and well-organized event. So kudos to staff for both of those. That's all I have.
Any questions for Christine? We're moving along pretty good, guys. We're down to round table by jurisdiction. Now we're gonna start with you. What's going on in the music?
Not much. Little elections this go around. We're spending on the end all the time on road. More, I'm gonna do like Mr. William, get nice, more time to over to the same guy.
Did you? There isn't a whole lot. Supposedly, I believe it was today. Thing for the Buckingham branch, their the Ginseng Grove, is that who's in Stanton? Was, that's a division of Buckingham branch. I think they were supposed to do the chamber in Louisa, have a meeting today to announce that they are going to start the new at least one excursion coming out of Louisa Depot, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. I think it's almost identical to what they do in Stanton. They run 2 trains. And one of them actually comes east to Abbey, I think, and goes back to Stanton dinner trains. What I've heard is they're going to start with the same train. It will be where they started with, so sometime after Thanksgiving.
They're gonna get you good. Pardon me? They're gonna get you good this year.
Well, I will try. don't know if it's gonna be good enough, but we'll see. But that's not all I have. So, this,
Any update on the Amazon data centers, Michelle?
well, if you want to hear that, the first data center building should be online late November, first part of December. That's at the Lake Anna campus down next to the power plant. They're working on the second campus. That's, I'm not sure. I thought that one of the locations was called the campus. Well, the one in Northeast Creek, which is near between the towns and Cuckoo, is they've split that. It was started at 4 campuses and now it's saying 3. So anyway, but they're working there, moving a lot of dirt, and stuff there. The application that they withdrew for their 3rd location, we don't know, we think they'll be back sometime next year with some changes made to that, but it's no guarantees. So it's moving along. They've got, the last I heard, about 500 employees that they live on campus that in construction. And that's in the Cuckoo district. And that supervisor is pretty, he has a, I don't know what you call this stuff, because as you tell, I'm very computer savvy, but he has a presence on all that media stuff. And it's been amazing how few complaints there have been for that location with that number. So I think between the contractor which started construction, the general contractor and Amazon, they've really worked hard to try and be a good neighbor as best they can be with dump trucks and concrete trucks and all that stuff coming in. So so far I think it's going good.
Thank you. James.
Another October, another federal shutdown. The fall foliage is a major driver of tourism revenue in Greene County. Of particular concern are Shenandoah National Park and Skyline Drive. My understanding is that the park is open, but it has a skeletal staff and the visitor center is closed. Needless to say, a quick resolution to the shutdown before the fall season advances too much further would be beneficial to Greene County.
What about water? There's been some progress on water, right?
Tim's been involved with that, so I might let him address
They
it.
got it. Move on. That.
Real quick, just to put the Virginia Housing hat on for the Central Virginia Housing Partnership, we had a presentation at our quarterly meeting from Chris McNamara of Virginia Housing. And did a presentation on the Workforce Housing Investment Fund. Now typically, you would, that group gets affordable housing. This is kind of more focused on worker and workforce housing. The interesting part of it is that it's a grant program that's designed to be connected to job announcements, and the job announcements don't have to be in your jurisdiction, they just have to be within 45-minute drive of the job announcement. So if I have a program in Albemarle that I could maybe try to get this grant money and bring them down to that job announcement, as long as I'm within 45 minutes of that announcement, that grant could be open to you. It's targeting and trying to be especially helpful to rural areas. And home ownership. So if you have anything going on in your county, either job announcement wise or looking to help, this would be, like I said, it's targeted towards your probably 100, 120 AMI type of folks and that workforce housing kind of scenario. That you can reach out to me or any of the staff and they can put you in touch with Chris. It's very lenient. There's some local match involved, but you can match, it's not just cash. They're getting very creative with how localities can meet the match. I won't give you all the other details. We're closing in on finalizing our draft of our recent comp plan update. I probably added a lot of extra time to the meeting yesterday myself, but we'll probably get one more draft ahead of us and then be taking a vote in the next couple of meetings. Our data center, we had done a phase one where it basically put a cap or turned anything over 40,000 square foot would require a special use permit. We had started a phase two conversation that would have allowed for some by right in some very specific areas, but that has just been put on pause for now. So there wasn't, I think it's fair to say there wasn't a majority support to go kind of either direction. The board was a bit split on it. But they're just putting it on hold, and we had community members starting to get riled up as well. So that is going to be paused for a while. And then the SAW camp, that's that joint MDO meeting with St. Augusta, Waynesboro, and Charles Albemarle. They did have some interesting things on there, specifically with rail, and talking about perhaps coming up in their strategic, I forget the timing, but it's a long-term plan. To try to connect kind of the Stanton area to the beach. To have the rail kind of extend east-west. So there's the one that goes from Roanoke up to DC, then there's the line that can come up from Richmond and go that way. But now trying to think of an east-west kind of rail line, which I think could impact all the members of this jurisdiction. That if folks could go from the beach to Stanton and back and forth from that, and then also having the access to those other lines without having to go into DC could be interesting. And was Breeze going to add a line that way too? There could also be a Breeze line.
Yep, they're in procurement, right?
So that's the bus that runs, that's running successful on the 81 corridor. So that's also going to be there. So that could be some interesting stuff for weekenders and looking to do stuff and staying in Virginia. So staff can share the link to that meeting or the materials if you'd like to see the rail presentation and then the Breeze information. Plus, there were some other projects y'all might just have curiosity about along 81 and some of the transportation projects they're doing on the west side of the mountain. Thank you.
So, then, like transportation, who goes on with the work we do on the RHP leadership?
Thank you.
What?
The only thing I might think to add to the comprehensive review is the thing that come before us is an observation and maybe a question with it of the things that we ain't had, which is, you know, the years immediately preceding when I came on the board in 24, we had long board meetings, because after 6 is when we have all the public hearings, most of which are zoning map amendments for residential development. So, we still have a bit of that in 24, and we don't anymore. We're consistently, we'll have like some text amendment, something to occupy us right after we reconvene. Like we got out of there 7, right? And yeah, most of the zoning related matters that have come before us this year have been actually previous applicants coming back and saying, actually, we're gonna fail to obligate on our previous terms when we renegotiate new terms. Part of that's our own doing, I think, right? We have a pretty high standard for affordability for rezoning right now, which is potentially chilling the market. But I also know that cost of capital is real high out there right now, right? Like it just takes a lot to pull down the money. And also like construction costs is during the pandemic, the cost of capital was still construction costs have been rising, a lot of it has happened. And so I bring this observation, we're not getting new development. We're not getting new proposals for new development right now. And I'm curious how much of that is our own policy and how much y'all are seeing similar trends locally. Are y'all having developers come with speculative projects approach, or is it the paper? Now, Keith, I know you got data. I don't want to hear data. I want to hear anecdotes.
So, okay, I'm gonna do that. So, yeah, we're gonna be, as some of you may be aware, we have a little bit of fuzziness as to the applicability of our current zoning ordinance, and it is in place and it is rolling. We have a formal agreement from the plaintiffs and from the judge that we can move forward in good faith, and lawsuit set for next year at some point. So, but during that sort of liminal state, it was a chilling effect, and that immediate already still into it. Sure, that was happening. I do think that we are having a lot of pre-meetings and early discussion. One sort of dichotomy that I'm seeing is, and we are going to be moving into a state where we're going to be cleaning up our zoning ordinance in the matter of everything from typos to unclear, everyone has done this, where you've written something, rewritten it, everyone's looked at it 7 times, and if you haven't looked at it 7 times, someone realizes it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So we've got a few of those we're trying to fix, we've got some low hanging fruit. All to say that I'm noticing the ordinance was written to pointed towards larger housing developments. And the smaller players really didn't have too much of a seat at the table, which was a shame, because we've now taken our residential zoning and said we could put 6 units on that lot. If you
That's a smaller developer question, right?
Right.
Your big developer doesn't need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Large.
And I've been trying to work on tools for that, but we have had quite a bit of interest on those, and those little sublot, we have the ability to sublot a residential lots now, where some of those start to come through. But the question, I think our data or my anecdotes are going to be colored by the fact that everyone's still learning how to do it and what's going to work and what isn't. So that's that. For the rest of the city news, our city managers in the midst of a bit of a organizational shuffle and trying to get things sorted in senior leadership. And sort of the changing of the city. And we are trying around the turn on a legislative package. And I'll let Mike fill in all the stuff that wants.
But I don't think we answered Mike's question.
Anecdotes. Oh, yeah, we answered. You just
So
want to
Mike,
say
your problem is price.
Yeah.
That's your problem. So Greene County's up 27% year-over-year in new construction because they're at the certain spot. So I think prices, that's where the developer is trying to go into the. Could there be policies that could help that? Sure. But at the moment, you're seeing the builders and developers going to where it's price sensitive. My county is up substantially, Greene County is up substantially. I won't give you data, they shipped up a lot. A lot. So it's supposed to be price driven on it, as far as the city of Charlottesville is concerned. I think the big issue on the small folks is your requirement of anything over 3 having requirement of a major site plan. Three subdivisions require a major site plan. You change that, you might get some more smaller entities involved in doing it. The cost for is too much for the site plan process, which translates to things, but I'll show that. Try another chair. Well, that's a debate that we can have.
That's a big, yeah. Sublotting
Yeah, I told you. Ernie, you want to dive into this discussion?
Well, only because you were talking about ordinances. We have 2 big work sessions coming up before the end of the year. The one later this month is going to be short-term rentals and overlay districts. And then we've got our final approval that will be happening after the first of the year. So public hearings will be right after the first of the year, and then we'll see what we end up with come April. But that's the time that we got right now for our zoning ordinance update. Next weekend, starting on Thursday, we're gonna have the biggest music festival at Oak Ridge, that we've had since Lockin. 24,000 people will be coming to Nelson for the weekend. So it's
What is it called?
7 Stars Music Festival.
Thank you.
I would suggest you Google it to find that more. Anyway, good weekend for me to leave town and go to an environmental walk in Sewanee. So I'm gonna be there. And yeah, we have 4 weeks left until elections. Over almost 20% of the central district, my district, has already early voted. Which is really high, and so Nelson County's had a lot of early voting, which is in, so see what happens. I'm the only one of the supervisors with a viable race. Jesse's just as viable.
I get to go to the festival for 4 days. Go look for me in the woods, guys.
That's it.
Jesse, since you're opened up, let's finish up with you.
Yes, there's that big festival coming. I'm gonna be there. Tommy, come on, Tommy Barlow. I'll see you there. Meet me at the tree line. Got that. As it relates to county stuff, Ernie really hit on a bunch. Zoning is the big highlight. I have spoken to a lot of those planning commissioners directly, fighting on why front setbacks are not necessary to be 75 feet. And currently I've been advocating for our front setbacks to go down to 40. I might give in and go to 50. And then talking about minimum lot sizes. So there's some philosophies that have to be worked out. But my main priorities in the zoning right now is reducing minimum lot sizes, setbacks, reducing setback requirements, as well as preserving home occupations for our tradesman-based contractors so that they have the ability to operate their plumbing business or whatever it is that they're doing from their garage. So making sure that we're putting those. So I would say those are my top 4 things that I'm working on in that regard. Other than that, Ernie, I really don't know anything. We had a fun debate forum thing last night. Ernie didn't have as much fun as I did. We had the League of Women Voters and they did a round table forum. I am officially not against this concept. I was concerned that it could produce chaos, but it actually was a really interesting, good discussion. And oddly enough, we were able to stay away from federal politics and everything else. So Ernie didn't want to debate me, FYI. I already offered, but it was just me and him in the room.
Thank you, Jesse. Mike?
Well, I guess to add anecdotes to answer Ruth's question. Our new zoning ordinance have inclusionary zoning where any development of 10 or more units, you have to have at least 10% be affordable at 60% of area median income or below, or pay into affordable housing fund based on a formula. And one of the arguments put out there is this is suppressing development. So the city had an analysis done of a potential tax abatement program to make it easier for developers to build with inclusionary zoning. And they delivered that preliminary analysis, which was that inclusionary zoning is not a barrier to development penciling out in any of the areas of the city. In that even if you removed the inclusionary zoning affordable housing requirement and had a tax abatement policy that was stronger than anywhere else in the country, projects would still not pencil out for at least for multifamily in most areas of the city. And at least their preliminary analysis was that even after zoning changes, what the market in Charlottesville really wants to build is student housing for multifamily and single family homes, and that has not changed. And that's what we're seeing. And that the cost of land and construction is just so high compared to the rent Charlottesville's market will bear. It's either student housing or maybe someone who just kind of wants to do a project and is willing to accept a small margin, but it's not really rational for most people to pursue those projects. We have a flood of thousands of private student apartments that will come online. And I think that'll be interesting to see what impact student housing specifically has on the broader market. Is it a very unique subset, or is it going to reach into non-student rental markets in terms of the broader impact? So that's one thing. Other big thing, city has potentially found a site for acquisition for a year-round homeless shelter. We've had many plans not work out, so not saying it's finalized but yet. But it's on Holiday Drive, if anyone's familiar with where the Red Roof Inn is, it's in that area. Cautiously optimistic because one, in the past, anytime a potential permanent homeless shelter site has been identified,
It's in a neighborhood. It's directly adjacent to a park. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of community concerns that come out. This is not adjacent to any neighborhoods, but it is accessible by transit. It is pretty close to the city. It also has an undeveloped parcel next to it that is also something they're willing to sell along with an existing office building that could be retrofitted. And the hope is that you can have enough space for permanent year-round shelter along with a centralized location for homeless services providers to all be in one place to provide wraparound services there as well. So that'll be up for a vote at our upcoming Monday city council meeting. And yeah, I mean, there's about 200 to 250 homeless people in Charlottesville, which is about the same as a decade ago, when it was 220. And I would just say Charlottesville is very visible because we're centrally located. There are people regionally who come here because it's where services are. But I would say, if you look at the changes that are coming with Medicaid, the number of people who are going to lose insurance, health insurance premiums, changes that HUD has proposed to the continuum of care, which is the main homelessness funding source in the United States. The impacts to addiction, mental health treatments. I think over the next several years, all of our counties are going to see homelessness become a lot more visible and a much bigger issue. And this is not just going to be a Charlottesville issue. I feel pretty confident in saying that. But that's it. Thank you.
Greene County has approved the whole water impoundment project. We did vote to downsize the main scale to where it was an $80 million project. We cut it down to a $65 million project. So downsizing the size of the reservoir dam down to this point to start it, and then years later it can be built up as needed. But all that has been approved, and we're in the process now of working out all the financial bonding. Guess once we do that, and then it goes out to the bids for the contractors, which may already be somewhat in work. But we have approved the whole water impoundment project to start, so I think once that hits the wave, then our developers will start coming in more too, because that's what a lot of the developers have been waiting to see. You know, the water, they need water for the development stuff, so I think their air development may increase more once that gets started too. We've been having a lot of discussions back and forth with the Air Planning Commission, trying to figure out the best ordinance for the biggest issue is that agritourism for the county. You know, putting that in defining the farming, agritourism, and trying to define that down and keep us out of the incident we had a year ago with a big winery wanting to come to the county. So we're back and forth with the planning commission trying to pinpoint the ratings and define how we want to do that in the future for any more developers want to come in for that too. It's one of our biggest discussions too. We're moving right along with the water and trying to figure that out. We got a Wawa coming to the corner. But yeah, we've got a lot of stuff, a lot of development going on. That major creekside development and different things like that. So it's Greene County is kind of jumping sitting there.
You approved the bond, right?
Yeah,
Anything else, sir?
that's about it.
I'll take a little bit of chairman's discretion here. Does the staff want to chime in on anything? Anything to share? Look at that, huh? Look at that face. And are you attending to that motion? On my end, I issued a letter to Christine at the end of my chairmanship. After 15 years, I'll be stepping off of the commission. Also the Land Trust Board and the Regional Housing Partnership Board. I've got some health things I gotta work on, and my 85-year-old parents are living with us that we've taken up a lot of time. So after this chairmanship, I will be stepping down. That's after 15 years, which is, I'm just blessed to be able to sit here and have a conversation with folks. But I just wanted to share that with everybody and give everybody a half an hour back and wrap this up at 8:30. So we have the motion out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I move that we adjourn, and I will point out that today is National Sake Day,
Ooh, it's still open, right?
Yeah,
Good.
so if anybody feels like celebrating or this would,
Well, let's hurry up and get a second so we can do this.
Yeah.
Let's move
Aye.
second. Jesse second.
I'll say, sure. I'm upset. I'm missing out tonight.
Thank you, everybody. You really want to.